Hey, welcome to Adventures with Peps, and today we are back in the overlooked Badab project. I'm going to be painting some Firehawk Space Marines, basically just using the army speed paints for the most part. You can see I've picked up the Zealot yellow, and we are painting the 21st Cursed Founding Firehawk Space Marine chapter. I love this chapter. They have bright orange armor, bright yellow shoulder pads, green eyes. It was a color scheme that scared the hell out of me until I got these speed paints. And then after I saw this Zealot yellow, which you can now see me applying, and later on you'll see the Fire Giant orange, I knew I finally had the colors to actually maybe pull off this scheme. So hopefully by the end of the video you'll see and be like, yeah, you did a good job. Or you'll be like, yeah, that doesn't work. But ultimately, I think this works. There is obviously the classic issue of the speed paints where it's a little bit patchy in places, but I think if you had 1,000 points of this on a table, your opponent's not going to complain. I definitely would not complain. I really like the look of them, but obviously with patience and time to do it properly, you could go back, clean up all the pieces, and it would look really, really good. I'm like, this is a scheme that I'm super happy with. If I wasn't already doing execution as my main Space Marine army, I would be very tempted by this. Now, I do know a few players out there are going to be angry at me because it is a Primaris Space Marine that I'm painting as Firehawks. It is a well-known fact that the Firehawks no longer exist in the current timeline, because shortly after the Badab War, the fortress monastery, the Rapturous Rex, came lost in the warp and was believed completely lost with the rest of the chapter, and they are declared destroyed. But there are rumors that there were survivors, and the survivors became the Legion of the Damned. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. That's just what the lore is telling me. And at this point, we are going to be moving on to the Fire Giant Orange. Now, Fire Giant Orange, for me, has become probably my favorite paint in the entire set. It is a beautiful color. Goes over white really well. It fills the creases and the shadows. It looks great. It just goes on wonderfully. You'll just see here, I start putting it on the foot. Look how it's grabbing into the shadows. Such a joy to go on. The only real issue you've got is that these Space Marines have such wide open flat panels that as you're putting this stuff on, you have to watch out for the pooling effect, which will happen. And here we have the model, the Firehawk. Look at the orange. It's lovely. It just looks so good. I just love this color. It almost makes me want to do the Age of Sigma dwarfs, the fire slayers, so that I can just paint orange hair non-stop. Absolutely adore this color. I cannot Now with the Fire Giant Orange dry and the Zealot Yellow almost dry, move on to the bolt gun, the chainsaw, and his chest piece. For this I use the Grave Lord Grey speed paint, which is a nice dark grey, kind of off black. Here we go, and as you'll see, it just goes on very nicely. I have had zero issues with these speed paints. In my opinion, these paints go on so much nicer than contrast, but gotta be honest, contrast has the bigger range. So here we have the Grave Lord Grey all down now. As you can see, I did the pouches, the belt, his chest piece, just to bring some darkness to what is a pretty bright color scheme. Then we hit up the eye lenses with Plasmatic Bolt. This color I like. It's bright, it's bold, it does look good on energy weapons. It probably wasn't the best choice for the eyes, I'm gonna be honest. It's quite light, and as I was trying to get the eyes on camera, I decided that wasn't going to work. The camera was way in my way, so I took it off, and then as you can see, I tried to fill in the lenses, and also I attempted some glowy effect. it didn't really work. The eyes look cool. They also bled into like the vents, so it just adds a bit of shade. Wasn't exactly the effect I was going for, but didn't ruin the model. Then we move on to the pallid bone as I bounce it off the back of the Space Marine. This was for the parchment paper on the bolt gun, and then also hit up the chest piece to give it a more bony look, as you'll see in a second. So the parchment paper, I thought this colour would work just because it looks old, it looks worn. It's kind of how I imagine their parchment papers being, their oaths of moment or whatever it's meant to represent, and then I just hit up the skull. Nothing really fancy there whatsoever. Then we move into another quick step which involves the blood red, and I'm just going to use this on the purity seal just above the parchment paper on the bolt gun. Really just a tiny drop, fill it in, make it look red, covers the grey very nicely. It's just a little pop of colour. Have a look around. I tried to work out if there was somewhere else I could stick some red. There really wasn't. I then needed to work out a bronze-ish colour. Usually I'd use a bolt gun silver and a Nazdrag contrast yellow, but I decided I'd use the Canoptic paint instead. This I got with the Imperium magazine, and you meant to use it for your Necrons. Decided I'd try it out on these guys. So I pick out the metal sections of the bolt gun, because this is a strange colour. It looks very burnished silver to me, or iron I guess. It's not very bronze, it's more into the silver palette. Yeah, as you may have noticed, I moved the model out of the screen. It's because I caught his helmet and actually took off some of the orange, so I had to reapply the Fire Giant orange. Then I also finished up his shoulder pads, and I just put a dry brushing of the Canoptic over the skull and wings on his chest, just to give him a little bit of highlighting. And as you can see, the model is now taking shape, but I was not happy with the yellow on the shoulders, as you can kind of make out from this very awkward angle. The yellow pulled in a way that I wasn't happy with, so I grabbed the Avalon yellow, I watered it down, readjusted my zoom, and then started to apply it to the shoulder pad. I also took the opportunity to add it to its knee pad, thinking maybe I'll give it some company marking there at some point when I want to make it look extra fancy, and the lighter colour will just help any black numerals pop. And it's at this stage where I think I'm pretty happy with how the armour's looking, so I use a dark wood wash on the base to make it look muddy, and I add a little bit of static grass to finish it off. And here you go. Is it a perfect paint scheme? No. As you can see, I missed some bits on the knee there, but I'm happy that I did the Avalon yellow over the speedpaint Zealot yellow, just because it's made it a nice flatter colour. Gravelord Grey has really took to the weapons very nicely. That's made me happy. And even the metallics, they're not my favourite. Probably won't use them for a long while after this experience, but even they worked out well. So there we have it. We have one completed Space Marine, Firelord Space Marine, and it's took me roughly 10 minutes, start to finish. I am really happy with the result. I'm definitely not going to complain about that one. I hope you've enjoyed this very short video with my quick and dirty Space Marines. I hope you'll join me again. Drop me a like, drop me a subscribe, and I appreciate all the love I've been getting. Cheers.